Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the 2024 campaign trail. Today we will be going over the Super Tuesday 2 primary results for the President, Senate, and gubernatorial primaries. Out of Democrats abroad, we can project that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be the projected winner in this primary. She will win 26% of the votes. Kamala Harris will win 20%. Mark Cuban will win 19%. Sherrod Brown will win 19%. And Roy Cooper will win 13%. AOC will end up winning 4 delegates, while Harris, Cuban, and Brown will win 3 delegates. Cooper will win nothing. Out of Idaho's primary, Ron DeSantis will be the projected winner on the Republican side. He will go on to win 26% of the vote. Jim Justice in second at 19%, Mitt Romney at 19%, Nikki Haley at 15%, and Chris Sununu at 11%. Going over to, we can't forget about everyone's favorite candidate, Kanye West, at 10%. Sorry, we can't forget about him. Over here on the delegate count right now, Ron DeSantis is at 10 delegates. Jim Justice and Mitt Romney both get 8 delegates, and Nikki Haley gets 6 delegates, while Sununu and Kanye West win nothing. And here's the county map on your screen now. Ron DeSantis is in red, Jim Justice is in purple, Mitt Romney in green, and Nikki Haley in brown. Over on the Democrat side, we can project that Mark Cuban will be the projected winner in the state's Democrat primary, where he will win 33% of the votes. Roy Cooper wins 26%, Sherrod Brown wins 23%, AOC wins 10%, and Kamala Harris wins 6%. The delegate count for the state of Idaho, Mark Cuban wins 8 delegates, Roy Cooper wins 7 delegates, and Sherrod Brown wins 5 delegates. Here's the county map on your screen now. Mark Cuban doing very well all across the state, with Roy Cooper winning the northeastern arch as well as the most northern county in the state, while Mark Cuban does well everywhere else across the state. Out of Michigan's Republican primary, Ron DeSantis will be the projected winner, winning 30% of the vote. Chris Sununu at 16%, Nikki Haley at 16%, Jim Justice at 15%, Kanye West at 14%, and Mitt Romney at 6%, and an abysmal performance for the former Republican nominee. And here's the delegate count right now. Ron DeSantis at 26 delegates, Chris Sununu and Nikki Haley at 16 delegates, Jim Justice at 14 delegates, and Kanye West gets a single delegate. Mitt Romney wins nothing. And here's the county map on your screen now. Ron DeSantis doing very well in the urban counties. He even does well in the urban counties as well. As you can see, he won Wayne County, the home of Detroit. Chris Sununu does very well in the suburban counties of Michigan, while Nikki Haley does well, in your dense rural counties. Out of Michigan's Democrat primary, Sherrod Brown will go on to win this county. A big victory for Sherrod Brown, who's been underperforming lately. He gets 33% of the vote. Mark Cuban at 23%, Kamala Harris at 16%, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 13%, and Roy Cooper at 13%. Taking a look at the delegate count, Sherrod Brown gets a big prize pool of 53 delegates, Mark Cuban gets 40 delegates, and Kamala Harris gets 32 delegates. Here's the county map on your screen now. Sherrod Brown doing very well in the suburban and rural counties of the state, while Mark Cuban does very well in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and as well as a few urban counties, while Kamala Harris kind of just gets some scraps here and there. Out of Michigan's Senate primary on the Democrat side, Debbie Stabenow has retired, and it seems like Democrats are hoping to replace her with Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, who will go on to win 40% of the vote. Rashida Tlaib wins 30%, Jocelyn Benson wins 20%, Abdul El Sayed wins 6%, and Shane Battier wins 3%. As you can see here on the county map, Rashida Tlaib doing very well in the outer Detroit suburbs. However, she doesn't win Detroit. Mike Duggan, that's all him. He wins Detroit. He's beats her out in Detroit, which kind of solidified his victory, while Johnson Benson does well in the northern parts of the state. Out of Michigan's Republican primary, Robert Ritchie, also known as Kid Rock, will win the Republican nomination for the Michigan Senate race, winning 30% of the votes. This was Donald Trump's endorsement, after all. Jace Bolger at 29%, Mike Bishop at 26%, Saul Anusis at 6%, and Scott Bowman also at 6%. Looking at the county map here, Ritchie doing very well in the southern parts of the state near Detroit, while Jace Bolger doing very well upstate in the Upper Peninsula. Mike Bishop's best performance is up in the Upper Peninsula. Out of Mississippi's Republican primary, Ron DeSantis will be the projected winner. He will win 33% of the vote. Jim Justice at 21%, Nikki Haley at 15%, Chris Sununu and Kanye West at 11%, and Mitt Romney at 6%. And here's the delegate count. Ron DeSantis wins 17 delegates, Jim Justice wins 12 delegates, and Nikki Haley wins 10 delegates, while the rest of the candidates win nothing. Here's the county map on your screen now. Ron DeSantis doing very well in the black majority counties, or the minority counties, while Jim Justice does very well in the more urban, rural areas of the state. Out of Mississippi's Democrat primary, Roy Cooper will go on to win the state, continuing his massive chains of victories in the South. He will win 33% of the votes. Mark Cuban not far behind at 30%, Kamala Harris at 16%, Sherrod Brown at 10%, and AOC at 9%. Roy Cooper, won 15 delegates, Mark Cuban at 13, and Kamala Harris at 8 delegates. Here's the county map on your screen now. Roy Cooper sweeping most of the counties. He essentially sweeps all the counties except a few where Mark Cuban and Kamala Harris just does a little bit better than Cooper at. Cooper having a very, very good victory here in the state of Mississippi. And out of the Senate primary for Mississippi, Governor Michael Guest, who recently became governor not too long ago, will be the person to succeed Roger Wicker, who decided to retire this year. He wins 43% of the votes. Chris McDaniel, Donald Trump's endorsement, wins 20%. Phil Bryant wins 16%. Thomas Duff at 13%, and Lynn Fitch at 6%. As you can see here, Michael Guest doing very well in most of the state, Bryant doing better in the minority counties, and McDaniel doing very well in the southernmost parts of the county, which is considered the most conservative. Out of the Mississippi Senate Democrat primary, Jamie Franks will go on to win this primary for the Democrats at 30%, J.P. Hughes Jr. at 26%, Brandon Presley at 20%, Omarius Scott at 13%, and Jeremy Anderson at 6%. As you can see, Jamie Franks doing very well in the southern parts of the state. J.P. Hughes does very well in the northern parts of the state, and Brandon Presley does best with African Americans in their black belt. Out of the Missouri Republican primary, Ron DeSantis will go on to continue his sweeping of Super Tuesday 2 as he wins this state's primary, winning 35% of the votes. Nikki Haley at 15%, Kanye West at 14%, Jim Justice at 13%, Chris Sununu at 12%, and Mitt Romney at 10%. Out of the delegate count, Ron DeSantis will go on to win 32 delegates, and Nikki Haley wins 22 delegates, as the rest of the field does not win anything. Here's the county map on your screen now. Ron DeSantis doing very well in the suburban and rural parts of the state, while Nikki Haley takes the urban areas of the state. Out of the Missouri Democrat primary, Mark Cuban will go on to win this very southern, very white working class state. So essentially, Cuban, Cooper, and Brown all had a shot here, essentially. And as you can see, it kind of reflects that in the numbers. Mark Cuban wins 33% of the vote. Roy Cooper wins 32%. Sherrod Brown wins 20%. Kamala Harris wins 10%. And AOC wins 3%. An abysmal performance for AOC. Mark Cuban will walk away with 26 delegates. Roy Cooper wins 25 delegates. And Sherrod Brown wins 17 delegates. Harris and Cortez win nothing. Here's the county map on your screen now. Sherrod Brown doing very well in the St. Louis areas as well as the Kansas City areas. Roy Cooper doing very well in the most northern states, the states connected to Iowa, while Mark Cuban wins everywhere else. Out of Missouri's Senate primary, Josh Hawley is the projected winner. He will be renominated for another term as Senate, winning 46% of the votes. Donald Trump endorsed Josh Hawley over the other candidates. Eric Green's at 23%, Austin Peterson at 13%, Ann Wagner at 10%, and Paul Kurtman at 6%. Josh Hawley winning every counties except the most conservative counties being Jason Smith's county, where Eric Green's does the best at. Out of Missouri's Democrat Senate primary, Cori Bush, the congresswoman out of St. Louis, will be the projected winner in this primary. She narrowly defeats Chris Koster, the former state attorney general. Scott Sifton's in third at 23%, Quentin Lucas, the Kansas City mayor, at 13%, and the former state auditor, Nicole Galloway, at 10%. Very contested primary. Cori Bush doing very well in the most progressive areas of the state, being St. Louis and the surrounding areas. Scott Sifton doing very well in the center suburban counties of the state. Chris Koster winning the remaining suburban rural counties. Out of Missouri's governor Republican primary, the Attorney General of the state, Jay Ashcroft, will be the projected winner, winning 30% of the votes. Mike Kehoe, the lieutenant governor, wins 23%. State Congressman Jim Neely at 22%. U.S. Attorney Catherine Hanaway at 13%. And former Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder at 10%. Donald Trump did endorse Jay Ashcroft in this race. Ashcroft wins 30% of the vote. I've already went over this. Ashcroft winning the more rural areas, Jim Neely winning the suburban urban areas, and Mike Kehoe winning the more conservative areas of the state of Missouri. Out of Missouri's Democrat governor primary, Jason Kander, a very blue dog, moderate populist Democrat, will go on to win this primary, getting a sweeping victory at 53% of the vote. Doug Beck wins 16%, Clinton Zeifel wins 13%, former Lieutenant Governor Joe Maxwell wins 10%, and John Rizzo wins 6%. As you can see here, Jason Kander winning every single county except the city of St. Louis, where Doug Beck would end up narrowly winning over Clinton Zweifel. Okay, out of the North Dakota Republican primary, Ron DeSantis is the projected winner. He will go on to win 33% of the vote, a 10-point victory over the next leading candidate, Jim Justice, at 23%, Mitt Romney at 13%, Nikki Haley at 10%, Chris Sununu at 9%, and Kanye West at 8%. Taking a look at the delegates, DeSantis will go on to win 16 delegates, and Jim Justice will win 13, with the rest of the candidates winning nothing. Taking a look at the primary map, Jim Justice does very well in the more urban and populous counties of the state of North Dakota. The more east you go, the more populous North Dakota gets, and that's where Jim Justice did the best at, with Ron DeSantis winning the rest of the rural counties, which is enough for him to get a 10-point victory over Jim Justice. Out of the Democrat primary in North Dakota, Mark Cuban will go on to win the state, winning 40% of the vote, a big victory for Mark Cuban. Roy Cooper at 23%, Sherrod Brown at 16%, Kamala Harris at 13%, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 6%. Mark Cuban will go on to win 7 delegates, Roy Cooper wins 4 delegates, and Sherrod Brown wins 3 delegates. Oh my goodness, the dogs are playing. That's loud. And taking a look at the county map, Mark Cuban wins the more populous counties of the state, while Sherrod Brown wins the most populous, not populist, populous county in the state, while Roy Cooper wins the more rural areas of the state. Out of North Dakota's Senate primary, Kevin Cramer will be renominated for another term. He will win 50% of the vote against his opposition. Rick Berg, the former U.S. Congressman, wins 16%. Gary Emeneth wins 13%. Kelly Schmidt at 12%, and Tom Campbell at 6%. As you can see here, Rick Berg winning the more conservative parts of the state, while Kevin Cramer wins everywhere else. Out of the North Dakota Senate Democrat primary, Joel Heitkamp, the brother of former U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp, will be the projected winner here, winning 40% of the vote. Joshua Bashi at 13%, Jasper Snyder at 12%, Ryan Taylor at 6%, and Max Schneider at 3%. By the way, Joel Heitkamp wins every single county, so that's why there's no county map. Out of North Dakota's governor Republican primary, Doug Burgum will be renominated for another term, as he wins 40% of the vote. His lieutenant governor, Brent Sanford, who got Donald Trump's endorsement, at 26%, Drew Wrigley at 16%, Brett Bickdial at 10%, and David Hogue at 6%. As you can see here, Doug Burgum doing very well in the middle parts of the county, Drew Wrigley winning the more populous counties, and Brent Sanford winning the more conservative counties. Out of North Dakota's Democrat governor primary, Marvin Nelson will go on to win will win nomination at 26%, a very open primary. Gretchen Dobrovich at 23%, Aaron Obon at 22%, Ron Gugesberg, love the name, at 20%, and Cory Mock at 6%. A very territorial county map, as you're about to see here, as Marvin Nelson essentially wins most of the counties, however, but he does win his own home county. Ron Gugesberg, who is in green, wins the surrounding suburbs around Marvin Nelson's county. Gretchen Dobrovich winning the more populous counties on the left, which is her territory, and Aaron Obon winning the more center orange counties in the center of the map, which is where she lives, where she represents. So a very territorial county map on your screen. Out of Washington's Republican primary, Chris Sununu will be the projected winner. A big victory for Chris Sununu, as Ron DeSantis was leading in polling here. Chris Sununu wins 23% of the vote. Ron DeSantis not far behind at 22%, Nikki Haley at 18%, Jim Justice at 13%, Kanye West at 11%, and Mitt Romney at 10%. And here's the delegate count. Chris Sununu wins 16 delegates, Ron DeSantis wins 15, and Nikki Haley wins 13. The rest of the candidates win nothing. As you can see here on the county map, Chris Sununu winning the Seattle urban areas, as well as the surrounding suburbs and island counties of Washington, as well as the more suburban eastward county there in the east of Washington, while Ron DeSantis wins the more rural counties and Nikki Haley wins the more suburban counties in Washington, including around Seattle. And out of Washington's Democrat primary, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will win this primary. She will win 40% of the vote here, a big victory for her. Mark Cuban at 20%, Kamala Harris at 16%, Sherrod Brown at 13%, and Roy Cooper at 10%. As you can see here, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wins 43 delegates, Mark Cuban wins 25 delegates, and Kamala Harris wins 21 delegates, while Sherrod Brown and Roy Cooper win nothing. And here is the county map on your screen now. AOC winning the more urban Seattle counties, the more progressive parts of the state. Mark Cuban winning the more urban counties in Washington, while Kamala Harris kind of win the border states near Oregon, which is close to California. And now out of the jungle primary for the Washington Senate primary, Mariah Cantwell will be the plurality victor in the state, but she will be advancing to the general election with Congresswoman Kathy Rogers, who won 15% of the vote. Bob Ferguson wins 14%, Jane Butler wins 10%, Joey Gibson at 9%, Hong Tron at 6%, Hillary Franz at 5%, Bill Bryant at 4%, Doe Constantine at 3%, and Clint Didier, that should say 1%, at 1%. And here's the county map on your screen now. Now, these county maps aren't nothing to swing at. Typically, Democrats win big here, but Democrats have a huge field of 5 candidates who took a lot of the votes. But as you can see here, why county maps don't matter and why these primaries don't matter. It only depends on who goes forward. But a Republican wins the most votes in the governor primary. Tim Eyman, a businessman, Republican businessman, wins the most votes and will go to a runoff, or will go to the general election with Democrat State Senator Marco Lias, who gets 15% of the votes. Director Lisa Brown, who had Jay Inslee's support, who did make it to the runoff, is at 11%. Doug Erickson, a Republican, at 10%. Drew McEwen, another Republican, at 9%. Derek Stanford, a Democrat, at 8%. Phil Fortunato, a Republican, at 7%. Mark Mullet, a Democrat, at 6%. Andy Billig, another Democrat, at 5%. And Bruce Demier, a Republican, at 3%. Here's the county map on your screen here. Michael Lias only winning 3 counties. But, of course, this is only because of the vote splitting Democrats did, and that Tim Eyman was able to win these other solidly Democrat counties. So it's nothing to bat an eye at. So this could be a potentially close gubernatorial race. We'll just have to wait and find out come November. And we now have some withdrawal announcement. Governor Jim Justice has announced that he will be withdrawing from the GOP primary since he failed to win a single state in Super Tuesday 2. Same thing goes with Mitt Romney, who had an abysmal performance this time around, barely cracked double digits in multiple states in Super Tuesday 2. Nikki Haley will also be ending her presidential campaign, not winning a single state and barely getting by in the 2nd and 3rd place in a lot of states. Maybe even getting 4th in one. And here's the delegate count thus far for the GOP primary. Ron DeSantis at 463 delegates, Chris Sununu at 148 delegates, Kanye West at 59 delegates. This is essentially a two-way race between DeSantis and Sununu. It's Ron DeSantis' race to lose, but maybe Chris Sununu or, God forbid, Kanye West can make it past Ron DeSantis in the next set of primaries. And now here's the delegate count thus far. Many are surprised Kamala Harris is still in the race, but after looking at this delegate count, not really surprising. Actually, hold on. There is a error here. Let me fix. Sorry about that. I fixed the error, but Kamala Harris has 529 delegates. She still leads the Democrat primary field despite not winning a single state on Super Tuesday 2. Which it's mostly because of her big victories on Super Tuesday 1, which keep her in the lead. But that could spell trouble for future primaries if Harris can't seem to pick up victories in states and is only getting by getting 2nd and 3rd in most states. Not even that in a lot of them. AOC is still in 2nd at 360 delegates. Mark Cuban is bumped up to 3rd at 333 delegates. Sherrod Brown is still in 4th with 325 delegates. And bumped down to 5th is Roy Cooper at 298 delegates. Now we have a major announcement to break through here tonight before we end the video. And that is actor Matthew McConaughey has announced that he will be running third party in 2024, stating that out of the 7 remaining major candidates, he feels like none of them can do right by the country like he can, and he is going to be running a campaign that is going to unite the country that neither major party can do, and that we should see a VP shortlist very soon. But Matthew McConaughey is announcing a third party bid for 2024. It's going to be interesting to see who he chooses as his running mate. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is the Chaotic One saying peace.